Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of the Recce Report at our new and improved time at 8 o'clock on the second Monday of the month. I'm your co-host Russ, former British Army warrant officer.
And I'm the other host, Cliff, a former British Army corporal who's got absolutely zero experience with IT, hence the reason I'm panicking.
Yes, we've had some IT difficulties tonight, and when I say we, I mean clearly Cliff. So before we launch into tonight's show, I'd like to just highlight to everyone that today is World Mental Health Day, the theme of which this year is mental well-being. So please look after yourself, everyone. If you do need to reach out for help, you can reach the Samaritans on 116123. That's the Samaritans on 116123. Or there's a really nifty text counselling service that's really, really good. The text the word shout to 85258. That's shout to 85258. And be someone under the line to help you. So yeah, look after yourself, folks, please.
Yeah, that's vitally important, and that's a huge public service you've done there, Russ. Because sometimes making that first step, reaching out, is the hardest bit. Having been through that myself. Right, so another month has gone past for us.
And it has, mate. I don't know where the time goes. It's October now. I've no idea how that happened. It can't be 2022. I mean, you can tell it's nearly Halloween because the shops have got all the Christmas stuff in.
Yes, I noticed that as well. Yes, we've got fireworks going off and all sorts around here. Yeah, it sounded like a bad day in downtown Gorney-Vicouth the other night. So, yeah. Now, as always, there's been very little to report. We've had to really hunt and search.
So quiet. I mean, I don't know. It seems like the Tories, the SNP, Labour are hiding. I was going to say Lib Dems, but we never really hear from them anyway, do we?
Are they still a thing?
I think they hibernate for the winter, to be fair.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Perpetual winter in their little political sphere.
Yeah.
Right, yes. So this week, I should say, this week just gone, sadly, seen the passing of a stalwart of the independence campaign. And that was Ian Hamilton. Grand old age of 97. Right.
Yes.
Now, his son wrote a very nice piece saying, like, his dad was well known for other things other than what we're about to have a chat about. But my own view of it is that he did Scotland a great service way back in 1950. Not just himself, there was 3 others with him by the names of Gavin Vernon, Kay Matheson and Alan Stewart. And the 4 of them researched the topic of the Stone of Scone, also known as the Stone of Destiny. They did a recce of Westminster Abbey. They discovered that one of the doors, I believe, was made out of pine instead of oak, so it was more easily to force. And then the cads, they broke in on Christmas Eve, 1950, went up to the altar where the stone was kept, lifted it, and then through the night repatriated it to Scotland. Although the press at the time, and forevermore, keep saying they stole it. It wasn't stolen by them, it was repatriated by them. It was stolen by Edward Longshanks way back in 1296, I think it was. He's the one that stole it. Ian Hamilton and his merry men and girls were just returning it to where it should be, i.e. Scotland.
Yeah. Back to the rightful owners.
Absolutely. And he did so at a time when there was only about 1% of the population that supported independence.
0.7% in the SNP stood out at that time.
There you go. Yeah, so yeah, it's a marvelous thing, and I really do think that they provided a wee spark. You know, people started to think about Scotland other than being this drag or drain on Westminster. And you know, and now we are where we are. We're in 2022, and we are very much on the cusp of gaining independence. But I think Ian Hamilton and his cohort were very much in the van on that one.
Definitely, you know, Ian Hamilton, Gavin Vernon, Kay Matheson, and Alan Stewart. Ian Hamilton at that time being a student at the University of Glasgow.
Yes.
Of course, went on in later life to be a well-renowned lawyer.
Criminal lawyer, QC, and he actually got KC as well.
Yeah, QC Casey.
Yeah.
Also well known for, and many people don't know this, he was one of the plaintiffs in the original court case about whether Queen Elizabeth should be calling herself Queen Elizabeth I or Queen Elizabeth II.
Right.
So he was one of the plaintiffs in that respect. And I think it's important. I think an important thing to notice, right, is that when that happened in 1950, the UK was very much a very solid union. It was the aftermath of World War II. Tories were actually performing really, really well in Scotland. Well, that was the last time they ever did that.
Yeah.
SNP, as I said, were polling at 0.7%, and then they went and did that, and it was all over the papers. And believe it or not, if you read into it, they chose not to prosecute them because they felt that would give too much publicity to the independence case. So not only, and apparently Ian Hamilton was the only one that never confessed.
Well, he couldn't, could he? Because he knew what his job was.
well, I mean, he did write a book about it, so he clearly, obviously, at one point held his hands up and said, "Yeah, that was me."
Yeah, but bless her, Kay Matheson's farm up in West Ross there, it was raided numerous times. Yeah, but I mean, the stone was eventually returned to authorities at Broth in April 1951, and it was done so with all due solemn ceremony. So I mean, it was treated with respect, and the respect that it absolutely deserves. But yeah, so that was one of the sad events this week. We've also had the party conference.
You're laughing at your own jokes. You've not even told them yet. Come on, man.
I'm not. I've been struggling today to keep up with things. Yeah.
The Tory party conference. Well, there's been a few the SNP party conference on now at the moment.
Yeah.
And you're right. And the Tory party conference for the start of it has just been all about how much can we demonize the poor, isn't it?
Yes.
It's been
absolutely
anger-inducing.
I've run out of adjectives to describe Braverman. I thought Prabhat Patel was bad, but heck, I was wrong on that. Yeah.
It's the race to the bottom, and the thing I'm laughing about now is obviously, the SNP conference at the same time, and the First Minister, well, not acting in her capacity as First Minister, obviously acting as the leader of the SNP, claimed that she detested the Tories and everything they stood for. And what that's resulted in is lots of pearl clutching by people like Douglas Ross and your man Kerr about the language that's being used. And I'm reminded of that sketch, the Michelin Webb sketch with dressed in Nazi uniforms asking if they are the baddies.
Yes.
And we've got to the stage where calling fascists is resulting in being condemned for using language like fascists instead of pointing at the fascists and saying, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's theatre. It's absolute theatre. That's what it is.
They're sitting there thinking to themselves, why are people not supporting us? Nicola Sturgeon has used this language and she was quizzed about it again outside the conference hall. She was quizzed about it, and they actually asked her, did she regret her choice of words?
No.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I'm saying Tory social media put a poster out, and she says, "I detest Tories," and it's a picture of Nicola Sturgeon, and people are going, "That's just an awesome picture." It's supposed to be an attack ad, but people are like, "That is awesome."
Yeah, there's a rather industrious person, clever person over Glasgow way, I call it social media, has already got it on mugs and T-shirts and stuff.
I know, but it's complete theatre, and I'm seeing a lot, and it's obvious that the SNP, because it's the comms, have got people rattled, because we've been seeing it on social media. There's lots of your man Blair McDougall has been very active on Twitter, and it's just recycling all the old Project Fair stuff from 2014. What currency will you use? Who's going to pay the pensions? And it all boils. I will get this word out, and it all boils down to too wee, too poor, too stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's special pleading. Every country in the world, every independent country in the world manages to have a currency, but Scotland will definitely not be able to do that.
No,
and it's like, yeah, we're not capable of crossing. I mean, I can't even say all boils down to. So clearly, don't put me in charge of currency.
Well, that's it. We won't be in charge of currency. Those that know what they're doing will be in charge of currency. Yeah. We're just wee activists at small wheel and huge cogs, huge engine. Yeah. And that's why I'm more than happy if someone pings a question at me and I don't have the answer for it. I'll go, I'll get back to you. But we will have a currency. What will it be called? Who knows? I believe in the next couple of days, I've just seen Wayne's comment coming up there. I believe in the next couple of days that the Scottish Government, that's the SNP and Scottish Greens, will be producing documents to do with currency as part of the lead in to the next referendum. Let's face it, the Tory party managed to tank the pound in a matter of weeks. I mean, I've no idea. Is there some sort of entrance test to be chancellor? Because obviously,
for the Tories, no, you just have to be racist, mate, and xenophobic, and not give a stuff about people that earn less than £150,000 a year.
Yeah, because nobody announces the mini budget as was announced. Yeah, and what the Chancellor was saying, cut taxes, perfectly normal Tory stuff. Trouble was he did it without showing his working. It's like, first year in high school, show your working.
Absolutely. I think we're missing a trick. I think we should, we've said about, I think the SNP have said that the plan is initially to use sterling in the short term, much like Ireland did when they gained independence in the 1920s. But you know what? I think we should cut them off at the knees. I think we should just announce now, sod it, we'll take the euro.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to sell our renewables and our expertise in. And if you don't like it, stuff it. Because what they're not admitting is that without Scotland, that pound sterling is going to tank even more.
Yeah, the people that put the credit ratings against the country. I mean, we all individually have credit ratings. Countries have them as well, and I believe 2 of them now have downgraded the credit rating for UK PLC. It's now at AA minus, which for a country of the stature of UK is absolutely disastrous. But they've brought it upon themselves. This was completely unnecessary. Yeah, this was Liz Truss and her little group selling their souls to the City of London to get the backing to become the next dream team number 10, and I'm using the term dream team as a nightmare. And this is what they tried to push through the other day. And then, of course, we had Douglas Ross. Yeah. And if there was a guy that picks the wrong side every time, he's consistent. Anytime he says, I'm backing this, I'm looking to the other side of the field. Because yes, the SNP, the Scottish Government has to reduce top rate of tax to in line with England, and it, what,
Yeah.
48 hours later, it was reversed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, that was the right decision. They said,
Yeah,
it was the right. I completely agree, but you completely agreed with the opposite side of the fence 2 days ago.
and that's straight from the books. That's straight from the pages of 1984.
Yeah, absolutely. What I've
Yeah.
also noticed, and I know that it's the Tory and SNP conference, is that the Labour media spin has been going on as well. Because I've noticed a few people now, a lot of the the tame journals are starting to push federalism again, home rule, a third option, and you're like, how many times do you have to try that? It's still I mean, I don't know how many people follow sort of American cartoons, but it's still Charlie Brown thing with Lucy holding the football, and
Yes.
this time she's definitely going to let him kick it.
Yeah.
And every time he runs up and at the last minute she pulls the ball away and he lands on his ass.
Yeah.
That's the Labour Party and this federalism, home rule, Devo plus Devo max thing that they keep promising. It will never happen.
First of all, Keir Starmer is filling the void that the Tory party used to occupy. That's how right wing he is. Yeah, the Tory party have sailed off to fascist land. Keir Starmer's got his party well in where the Tories used to be. No, he has already turned round. He is happy enough with Brexit. Never mind it's tanking the exports, and he will not engage in a second independence referendum. For someone that has got very little support in Scotland, I've no idea what opinion polls he's looking at to say that they are now increasing their support base back in Scotland.
Yeah. And again, I'm seeing the thing again. It's about us pesky jocks are being selfish because we won't vote Labour, so we're going to leave our poor English neighbours at the mercy of the Tories. And it's a tired argument. Again, it's theatre. As we know, Scotland hasn't voted Tories for 70 years.
Yeah,
and we're still getting Tory governments. Scotland gets, let's face it, what Middle England votes for.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they've never they've had what 315 years to get this sorted out, and they haven't done so since the Act of Union or the Scottish and English parliaments. Since the Union, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland came into effect in 1922. Yeah, so they've had 100 years to get things sorted out, and they have failed to do so because they don't need to. Westminster gets their power from south of the Rio Tweed.
Yeah.
Labour used to rely on Scotland, that 45 seats on occasion, but that's now lost them because they have turned their back on Scotland.
Yeah.
They are completely unrecognisable.
And let's not forget, Labour do not field candidates in the Northern Ireland Assembly.
Yeah,
because they have a tacit agreement with SDLP.
Yep.
And SDLP, of course, support Irish reunification.
Yes, they do. Yes.
So Labour are very split-minded on this.
Oh,
about what's going to happen.
But,
and speaking of which, just to highlight it, bear in mind tomorrow and Wednesday we have the Supreme Court looking at the presentation by the Scottish Government on the legality of a independent or a referendum on this topic of independence.
Yeah. Now I was thinking that the verdict would be coming out in the next 2 days, but I believe that's a couple of months down the road yet. They're going to talk about it tomorrow and the day after, and then they sit and talk about it. The judges sit and talk about it themselves, and that's going to take a couple of months. Mm-hmm. But at least it will give us clear direction as to where we're going, and it will pull the rug from under the unionist feet of this illegal referendum. So they cannot do to us what Madrid did, Catalonia. so they can't do that. And we've got to do it through this way, because what I noticed with the SNP letter to the Supreme Court was the use of the UN Charter and the European Court of Human Rights. That was mentioned. And I believe that was the first time I've seen that. So the Scottish government's now beginning to appeal to the wider world community, saying, look, we voted for this in a democratic vote, but we're being having it refused by a government that's so intransigent.
It is. It's an ideal. The thing is, I think the SNP played a blinder with this, actually, because no matter which way the Supreme Court comes down on this, it works for Scotland. If they say yes, the Scottish government can legislate for an advisory referendum, and let's not forget, all referendums in the UK are advisory. Brexit was advisory. The setup of the Scottish Parliament was advisory. Then that's fine, we go ahead and do it. If they turn around and say no, there is absolutely no mechanism by which Scotland can look for self-determination, as defined by the United Nations, then again, that's a win, because if it then stops being a voluntary union. If there's no way out, it's not voluntary.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a union by consensus.
Yeah.
And that, I think, that then obviously we go straight into the UN Charter on former colonies and self-determination along that lines. So you're absolutely right, Russ. It is a win-win for Scotland. I know there's folks out there that are beginning to become a little bit impatient. It's been a long road, and for many people, it's decades in the development. I'm comparatively new to this, so I can appreciate how people are getting frustrated, impatient about getting things moving. But I also believe we're very, very close now. We're on the cusp. Winning the thing's a totally different debate. Getting to hold it is our first thing, and then moving forward from it with that set date, then moving forward to win it. Then that's when all hands at the pump type of thing. So, when we used to do operational tours, buddy, the longest part of it was that day before you actually deployed. Just waiting for the.
So we have a question here from Hashbury Stumble saying, did you or I manage to catch Stuart McDonald or Alan Smith's speech to SNP conference? I'm going to be honest, I didn't. I've been working all day, so I've no idea what happened.
No, didn't catch it. I've been working as well. I do an awful lot of audios.
All right, so
taking people's hearing. So I haven't catched it.
So thank you, Hashbury Stumble. I've put your question up. It made us both look like idiots. And I'm going to take it down now and slink away and hide my shame.
But I will check on it later on.
I'm going to go look it up after this, and if we do form an opinion, we'll put it on the bottom of the YouTube video when this is posted up at the end of it. So thank you for showing us up for our ignorance. We do appreciate it. We don't hide the fact that we're morons, but we don't like to broadcast it
overly much. So the conferences, I think, have been a complete disaster for the union. Including the Labour one. They've had one as well, haven't they? It's been.
Go on. I was going to say, Hashbury Stumble said she thinks that they were talking about Ukraine, and I think I may have seen some highlights about that. I know Nicola Sturgeon said that we support Ukraine and we always will. So I'm hoping it's along those lines.
I would imagine it would have been given those two MSPs being, well, certainly Alan Smith was an MEP. So we're talking. I think it would have been a very sort of democratic, defending democracy type of thing.
And it does tie into what we were going to talk about. Anyway, we're going to mention Ukraine, weren't we? About the fact is that they've taken out that bridge.
Yes.
That links Crimea.
Well, haven't admitted it.
Well, Putin has said it was a terrorist act.
Yes.
Yeah, because apparently, rolling into someone's country and threatening them with a nuclear war is not terrorism.
Yeah,
In
well,
Putin world, I don't know.
TASS reported the other day, the morning of the bridge attack, that it was an act of war.
Yeah.
Sorry, what exactly have you guys been up to since March?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a mild disagreement up to that point.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, how much more is Putin going to trash his forces?
I don't know. There's, I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know about you, mate. I mean, I served in the army. I was a Cold War warrior. Back in the 80s and 90s. We all thought Russia was the Soviet Union was this unstoppable superpower, and it was only kind of after the end of the Cold War we realised that it was that theatre we were talking about.
Yeah,
But even since then, I thought they'd be. I didn't realise quite how bad they were.
yeah,
Honestly, they're outdated. It's all for show. It's all
yeah,
for driving. It's all for driving through Red Square. It's not actually for conducting, mobilized operations in an
yeah,
urban environment, is it?
yeah. Very much so. I really, I mean, on one of my podcasts I do on a Sunday, when they first went in, when Russia first went in, I was giving Ukraine about 3 weeks, and that'll be it. Boy, did I get that wrong. Yeah, because again,
It's,
as you're expecting a steamroller of former Soviet Russian tactics to go in, but they've just come a cropper, and it shows, I think, the level of corruption that is within Russia.
yeah.
Because obviously money's been allocated for training, money's been allocated for weapons, money's
Oh
been
yeah.
allocated for kit. Yeah, and it's just not happened. I mean, all the kit they had in mothballs, and they were very. This is one of the big shouting points for the old Soviet
Oh,
army. Was that
well, where do you think the Russian oligarchs came from?
yeah,
Literally, as soon as that wall came down, they started just basically hoarding everything they could get and flogging it off.
yeah,
You know,
that's
you know, you can,
yeah.
you can't buy a football team with a bag of potatoes, can you?
No, there've been an awful lot of
Yeah,
T-72s
yeah,
involved in that sale.
exactly, mate. It's been quite scary, but it's interesting to see it go on. I mean, there's been very different opinions, certainly from various people about what's going on in Ukraine. Some people are blaming NATO expansion. Some people are blaming, Russian expansionism, because they've been trying to push out into Crimea and places like that. But I don't think anyone, certainly even those of us that served in uniform, that served in Europe, anyone thought that we would still be talking about this months after the initial invasion.
Yeah, and we're just about to head into the bad weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the morale of the Russian forces are as low as what is being reported from the MOD, then the last thing they need to be is stuck in a trench in the winter.
Yeah.
Because that'll only put their morale one way, and that's further down. So I think Putin has miscalled this. There's two people walking about this week who are notorious for making miscalls. Vladimir Putin's one of them, and Douglas Ross is the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, but at least Vladimir Putin sticks to his point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Even in the face of overwhelming evidence.
yeah.
Poor Dross is flip flopping all over the place. Really is.
Well, it's just as well he doesn't have a spine.
It is. And folks, we're coming to the end of our slot for this week. Thank you for joining us. I hope you all tuned in for Scottonomics before you came into us. That's why we've moved our slot to accommodate them. But we're night owls anyway. We're quite happy doing the late stag. But thank you so much for joining us again this week. Please tune in again on the second Monday of next month at 8 p.m. And me and the handsome one Cliff will be here once again, talking nonsense about the events of the day.
Yes, and I'll try hopefully to get the IT kit up running, my IT stuff working. Folks, Thanks for tuning in. It's always an honour getting mic time to highlight that veterans do support independence. So yeah, guys, cheers.
Thank you, folks. Take care.